My name is Mihailo. I'm leading digital transformation in the organization of the Scout movement, one of the largest non-profits and non-formal education youth movements in the world. We are in more than 173 countries and we have about more than 58 million members. And it's also a grassroots movement, decentralized movement.
I'm Gabriela. I'm a mom. I'm an engineer, and in all my path I bumped into many people. So I want to do something more. I'm very passionate about opportunities for people that don't have them, and I like technology. So that's me in a nutshell. We're working on saving circles. So saving circles, what they do is they actually solve the financing for people that don't have access to formal financial systems. The idea there with saving circle is that people can join, gather, let's say 10, 12 people, it depends on how much money you need at the moment. So everyone pays a little bit, so you're not asking for someone to give you a loan, you're asking your friends to give you a small loan in a saving circle. So that's what they're doing. It's actually being done for many years in countries of Latin America, Asia, and Africa, and we're digitizing it. Here we see the big benefit of blockchain. In these countries where we're at, we have a lot of corruption and things that people don't trust systems.
Hi, I'm Abhishek Bhattacharya. I have been in the blockchain domain since the last 5 to 6 years, have had a lot of passion, including running a company as well as writing books.
My name is Marcus. I'm from Guatemala. My background is in academia, research, climate, the healthcare space, education, among a range of other industries. Generally just really driven by leveraging technology and innovation to create better futures for all.
My name is Mary P. Davies, and I am a legal technologist and a researcher, and I'm based in the Cayman Islands.
With the fellowship program, the number one challenge that I've been trying to solve, and not just now but since the last 3 years, is connecting farmers with lending opportunities, borrowing opportunities, to be honest. They can avail loans against their crops, which they store in the warehouses. And this benefits them a lot because these are smallholder and marginal farmers, not very well to do. And they need immediate money, interim capital, to manage their household finances, as working capital, etc. What it helps is, what we help them with is that instant capital, real time and low cost from banks and other global DeFi lenders.
My name is Karam. I am originally from Syria. Before 2011, I was actually studying petroleum engineering, interested in sustainable development and projects that are focused on underserved communities in Syria, especially in eastern Syria, where I belong.
We understood that there's a challenge that needs to be solved where we are not force-fitting blockchain, and that's when the idea took birth, and we went ahead and solved it using blockchain technology. Especially in a country like India, that part has been really constant, that the farmers are still poor, the farmers still need benefits to be given to them. The government is trying to do that as well, and we are also. So farming plus finance plus blockchain, these three backgrounds come together where we are able to apply this to this problem that we are solving. It's very sad that more than 300,000 farmers have committed suicides, and it's a no-brainer that is because of financial troubles, right? These are not well-to-do farmers. They really wait for the harvesting season to happen, and right after that they want to immediately sell off their produce so that they get that money. Their children are waiting to be educated, their children are waiting to get married, or any other household expenses that they're waiting to make happen. They wait for the harvest to happen. That's their only source of income. And it takes months to harvest a crop, you know that. That's where, but when they do not get the right price, they get pennies on the dollar for every kilogram of crop, that's when conditions become further worse for them, which is when they either go to other money lenders to get some loans at outrageous interest rates, further making them poor as months go by. It's a vicious cycle. They are not able to get out of it ever, right? And eventually some farmers just choose to commit suicide because of the financial troubles. That's where the sad reality is. where we are able to do this with the farmers. And this is in their lives the first time ever that they are interacting with such a platform. They are not accustomed to getting food delivered on app or getting insurance booked on app. So this is for the first time in their lives they're doing something at the click of a button on their app, and they're really happy, and that happiness makes us really happy. So when I am able to solve that problem, this is better than anything I've done in all the 27 years I've lived here on the planet.
Driving real-world utility and value back to the space, I think, is of utmost importance for us to see continuous, an infinite garden ultimately, right? And so thinking of how we can bridge these worlds will be really crucial, and that's the emphasis of the research, is how do we take a lot of the innovation that's happening in the space, particularly looking at decentralized finance, as I believe that's a really important coordination tool, and how do we deploy that in really local contexts, and what's all the infrastructure and the building blocks that need to be put in place in order for that to be a reality. So the question that we've been exploring at Lamina Pop is how do we deliver better livelihoods and access to not just housing, but also water filtration systems, permaculture gardens, energy access, internet access, and do so in such a way that is sustainable and scalable. Primarily right now, the way people have access to housing in Guatemala, for example, is by taking loans. So the problem with these loans that they end up taking out is they have really, really high interest rates, and they can't access them necessarily through traditional financial institutions. And so what ends up happening is they end up having to recur to loan sharks that end up charging hundreds of percentage points on an annual basis of interest rate. So the question is, if we look at decentralized finance, for example, where you can take a loan out for single percentage points, what would it look like, for example, to merge these two worlds together, where we're saying, how does someone in Guatemala in a rural marginalized area get access to a low interest rate loan that is powered by DeFi? I was born and raised in the rural highlands of Guatemala. I used to take a boat into school every day. I used to live in an indigenous village as well. And so it was very close to home to me, the harsh reality that people live in Guatemala, right? So the region that I'm from, 7 out of 10 children face chronic malnutrition. We have some of the highest illiteracy rates in the Americas, some of the poorest healthcare indicators in the region as well. So for me, from a very young age, it's been a really strong passion of mine to address these issues, not just the sort of surface level complexities, but rather thinking about what are the underlying structural problems that exist across society that perpetuate these injustices. So that's ultimately what's unlocked, or a lot of the thought process, and ultimately led me towards Ethereum and thinking about decentralized distributed systems across society, right? Anytime we end up with, and this is particularly poignant in Guatemala, where we have a really, really centralized elitist society that is inhibiting the capacity for people to move upwardly, and therefore we end up with the conditions that we have today.
In several groups of, let's say, moms, right, or women, let's say informally employed, right? In Mexico, we have 48-hour work weeks. For people who are single moms and have 2, 3 kids, it's not possible, right? So their option is to be uninformally employed, but then you get that you get time with your kids, or you can manage your schedule, but then you don't have, let's say, benefits. You don't have a specific salary that you can plan, right? You cannot make a budget so easily, so you live day to day. I've heard many stories. And this way, people ask for help. This is a way of actually not just asking for help. It's a way of making a community grow within each other and make their own financial system. I changed my kids' school, let's say, and they needed a specific model of tablet, right? But I have 2, so I have to buy 2 tablets. There's in Mexico this promotion where you can get months without interest, which is great, but you need a credit card. Uninformally employed, let's say I can't get a credit card, and that's no option, right? So these saving circles are a specific option for people like me.
I realized that Ethereum has what I look at as a security problem. Because if you're not able to provide your private key or your access credentials, you can't transfer your ETH. And if you're dead, that's a serious problem. So I got into it when I was doing a master's thesis, and I realized that originally it was about social media, as a digital asset. And as I started to dig into the topic, I realized that this applied to digital assets that have fiat value. And then I thought, well, how do we deal with this? And if we don't deal with this, what are the consequences not only to the holders, but to the ecosystem as well? So that's the route that brought me to looking at the question of what happens to your ETH when you die. And then when you start looking at terms and conditions for exchanges and wallets, you realize that a lot of them have no provision for dealing with this. The account is non-transferable, they don't mention anything about death, and if they do, they talk about probate. Probate is no help if you can't transfer the asset that you're dealing with. So I realized that this was something that needed to be delved into further, and I just kept digging, and here I am. So the idea is to put together a framework of all of the different law that applies, and then from that, identify the patterns, and then we can then go to the technical community and say, these are the legal requirements. How do we solve this from a technical perspective? So my project will be focusing on the legal side of it, so that I'll have that body of knowledge. And it'll also give us a voice, because I think one of the challenges that we have in the community is that we don't always speak the language of other stakeholders in the game. And I think it's very important that we know what the law is, so that when we come up with a technical solution and they go, oh no, you can't do that, we can look and see, yes, we can, because this section, and this section says so. So that's the approach that I'm taking.
How blockchain technologies can help us solve some of the things that so on one hand do things that we're already doing well, but improve it. First of all, we will be looking into how to digitalize our Scout badges, as you know. Those will be like NFT badges in this case, but this is just an entry point. This is more of helping everyone to understand the benefits of it, helping everybody coming on the ground level, or having a wallet, or being able to start up with a blockchain and starting to explore further on, but looking into all different use cases, DAOs, all different interesting use cases that we could do in scouting, certification, voting. All these things are very, very interesting for us. Solving the world problems shouldn't be just the job of the governments. We, non-profit sector, from the non-governmental organizations, we know that, but it's good to see that there is more, that there is much more of us, and then we should just work with also people in technology, like what people are in the Ethereum ecosystem, and together put our forces together towards solving some of these problems. And that's also decentralized way of thinking of solving these problems, not just giving it to governments or expecting someone else to solve this.
2019, I was reading a book about blockchain. It's called Blockchain Democracy and the Role of the Crowd, because I was really interested in the space, but mostly because I was trying to figure out solutions for some of the insufficiencies that I've seen in the international development practice, and the things that are related to funding, capacity building for civil society groups on the ground, donors, money being lost here and there because of the amount of intermediaries in between. I had an idea that maybe blockchain is an answer for some of these things. And this is where I started exploring solutions that are built on the blockchain, on blockchain technology, using smart contracts to try to figure out solutions for some of these insufficiencies in the international development practice. My project aims to actually inform the whole blockchain space about some issues related to blockchain technology, the adoption of it, the practice of it, the implementation of it from the ground. So to do that, basically, I've led workshops for over 93 civil society groups on the ground in Syria, and some are in Turkey and in Jordan, clustered them into groups. And then we gave them first a workshop that is focused on what is blockchain, what is smart contracts, what is the MetaMask wallet, what is DeFi, and so on. Because the thing is, when you're thinking about the Middle East and North Africa, and especially in countries that are experiencing crisis, they don't have banks. They're unbanked in general. Over 92% of Syria is unbanked already. And basically, their interaction with cryptocurrency, transactions, smart contracts, NFTs, DAOs is extremely minimal. So what we try to do is trying to explain to them what is blockchain.
The fact that we have this tool and this mechanism to create better coordination games and systems is incredibly powerful, right?
We need the foundation first, because without knowing what the law is, we might be developing technical solutions to a problem that the law will fight us on. And as we've seen with securities law, we don't want to go through that again.
And that is what the future looks like for us. We are going to deploy it on Ethereum and other L2s, and it's going to help us reach the billion that we plan to do.